So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining today. This webinar is scheduled to last an hour. Please note that everyone has been muted. Questions may be submitted during the presentation in the Q&A box below, and they will be addressed at the end of the webinar. This meeting is being recorded. You will receive a recording of the session via follow-up email, along with answers to any question that we don't have time to address. And the webinar will now begin. So thanks everyone for being here. I'm Geneviève Gauvin, Director of Business Development at Vention. We're very excited to address this topic today. Traditionally, palletizing solutions have been influenced and driven by trends in low mix, high volume industries. Just think about food and beverage, electronics, pharmaceuticals. But Cobot palletizers are making strides in the manufacturing space these days. So now more than ever, I think all manufacturers are being disrupted by the speed with which products need to get out the door and get shipped out. Product life cycles are shrinking, more product SKUs are being added, higher mix, lower volume, and floor space in the factory is getting tighter. And so business owners now are turning to Cobot palletizers to accelerate and to automate the packaging and palletizing processes that are happening at the end of the line. Flexible in nature, Cobot palletizers can adapt to changes in the product lines, and there are many things to consider when selecting your Cobot palletizers. So things like, what are your existing resources? What are your capabilities inside the organization? What's the intended application? What's the budget? And what's the ROI are you looking for? So today, we'll not only address why a Cobot palletizer could work for you, but also how you can get started and build this yourself. So I'd like to welcome my co-hosts, Marlene Niemeyer, who's a product sales manager at Rocketfarm. Hello, Marlene, welcome.
Hi, and welcome too. Thank you also for having me. I'm very excited to join this webinar today.
Great. And Damien Erie, also from Ewellix, is joining us, the business support manager. Thanks, Damien, for being here.
Hi, Jen. Hi, everyone. Yeah, also very excited and looking forward to show you how you can get your factory more efficient.
And my dear colleague, Christophe Brizard, Business Development Manager at Vention. Hi, Christophe.
Hi, Jen. Really excited to be here as well and happy to show you the solution we come up with.
So thank you guys for teaming up on this project with us. And of course, thank you for being here today. So today what we'll be going through with you in the next hour, we'll address the business case for using a Cobot palletizer. And we'll also explore what different possible options are there in terms of configuration. Which one would be best for your specific application and needs. We'll expose what you need to consider when designing and configuring with a palletizing software. So basically, how do you get started? And we'll also hit on what else you should be thinking about, end of arm tools, accessories, sensor, etc. And finally, we'll walk you through on how you can make it happen and create it on your own. So we'll share a step-by-step example in a quote-unquote real time. So Christophe, thank you so much for being here. I know you've worked hard on this. So we've been seeing users really taking a step back recently and realizing that they need to speed up their production line. And many have come to the conclusion that they actually need to start with the end of the line in mind.
Yes, Jen, you're absolutely right. You can't obviously have a bottleneck at the end of your cycle. And like you said, people, when they try to automate their cycle or their process, they usually start with the end because it's easier and it avoids having any bottlenecks along the way. And so you can work backwards from there. So we quickly realized that it would be really useful to team up with some of the industry experts out there and create a solution that would simplify everything when it comes to Cobot palletizer. And this is really relevant for people that already have cobots, but also for people that are considering having one. So if we take a step back and ask ourselves why this solution would be useful for you, there's really 5 main considerations here that will help you answer this question. First of all, it would be about the footprint. So with this kind of machine, this footprint is really small, And it's super important in general in factories on the shop floor to optimize everything in regards to footprint. And it's even more important nowadays with the social distancing, where factories and shop floors are being redesigned so people can walk through the factory without being too close to other colleagues. So that's one more add-on that we could talk about. So as you see on the picture, it's not very it's not any bigger than the 2 pallets. So there's pallet locators that constrain the pallets, and everything is built above it. And you can see the conveyor next to it. Usually the customer already has it, and you just put it close by. So the solution is really small, and that's why it's so popular. Another consideration is in regard to safety. So of course, we're talking about the collaborative robot palletizer. So safety is really important. So all the individual devices included in that design have a safety features that can really help. So we've provided a bunch of them so the whole solution can be safe. But of course, every safety assessment has to be done by each customer. So we've put the minimum in there, but there's also other possibilities that you can find on Vention. So let's say if you want to add a safety enclosure or add light curtains or more sensors to detect when whichever someone is going too close to the machine, it's possible on Vention. Another consideration here is about the ease of use. So we're having 3 organizations that came up together and created the solution. It's all been tested. It's all been integrated together. We also came up with an integration guide, which is super exciting, and it saves you time. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. And it's also certified by the UR Plus and also Vention. So it's a solution that could be really reliable and that you can trust. And in that regard, there's also the fact that it's quick to deploy. So not only is it easy to operate with the software that Rocketfarm created called Pally, but it's also super quick to deploy as any machine on Vention. So you can assemble your machine with only 1 tool in a matter of hours. And all the components chosen here with our partners are all plug and play. So you put it all together yourself, and you can operate it in a matter of hours. The last point that is important to consider is about the flexibility. So of course, shop floors constantly need to adapt to different types of products, different cycles and things like that. So I would say there's 2 levels of flexibility here. One level is inside the design itself. So as any machine that you create on Vention, you can move around parts, remove, add some, even add some of your existing machines around it to see if it fits into your environment. So this can all be done in our 3D environment called Machine Builder in Vention. But there's also a flexibility in terms of configuration possible in terms of designs. So as you know, if you've been on Vention, we have a public design library where you can choose a bunch of designs that are made available for anyone to purchase or modify to your exact needs. So on that point, I'd like to discuss different configuration that we have on the platform and that would fit your needs. So as you can see here on the picture, there's only 3 examples. It depends on the application that you want. It depends on the budget, on your footprint that you have available. So it depends on many different things that you have to consider yourself. But you may need, for example, a fully configurable range extender. So that would be, for instance, the design on your left that you see, the configurable 7-axis palletizer. So this includes any Vention actuators that you can choose, and you can put it as tall as you want, as wide as you want, and add any kind of devices to it. There's also the design at your far right, which is the one for limited budgets, and it's called the fixed height palletizer. So basically, there's no movement up and down with any linear actuator. So it's for smaller pallets, but also can be a nice start in the world of cobot palletizing. What we have seen so far, what's interesting is that obviously the most popular design is really the one in the middle, the one that we've discussed so far with the telescopic column. It's, as you can see, it can be simpler than that. And it's also very, very flexible, and it's one of the big add-ons is really the lift kit from Ewellix here. So Ewellix has been partnering up with Vention for quite a while now. And of course, it's a global supplier of linear motion and actuation, and they serve many industries. So it's a really reliable product that helps the whole machine be more efficient. So we're really happy to have them in this collaboration.
Yeah, thanks, Christoph. You're right. And Ewellix has been working with palletizing applications since 2016. And we've been partnering with Rocketfarm for a bit more than 2 years to integrate the lift kit in the Pally as a native solution. So I can say it's a tried and tested plug and play solution. If we go more into the details of the lift kit, it is an easy to assemble solution, which in fact increases the reach of the cobot. It moves along a vertical axis, which is particularly useful for palletizing application. You can raise your robot, your cobot, or lowering it during the operation so that you always have your cobot at the optimal working position. And this increased range improves your productivity and reduces cost. In fact, with the same cobot palletizer, you will be able to put boxes on 1 or 2 layers only, but also you will be able to palletize up to 85 inches in height, so which is approximately 2.15 meters with exactly the same cobot palletizer. The lift kit in itself is very easy and very easy to install and operate. As you said also a few minutes ago, it's a UI Plus certified plug and play solution. So it comes with all you need. Its deployment will take you between 15 to 30 minutes. And it's very easy also to redeploy it into new application. Let's say you don't need it on the end of the line A, you can take it, you take the bolt off, and you can put it in end of line C, for example, if you need it there. The cornerstone of the lift kit is the UI cap, which is the out-of-the-box software, which you will install on the UR Cobot pendant. And this is included in the package. So you don't have to do any programming. On top of that, you will have the Pally software, which will help you to palletize the box on the pallet. So again, it's a plug and play solution. You get all you need, and you also get the software, so that you don't need to do any programming with any different languages. The nice thing also is its compact design, as you can see here on the picture. And as Christoph mentioned, the 2 pallets are very close to each other thanks to its very narrow footprint. So you will be able to integrate it in your production line very easily. Using a lift kit in your Cobot palletizer in your production line will provide you several advantages. It's an easy to use vertical height adjustment. It is a telescopic column, and it will rise to the ideal working position during palletizing automatically. On a standard, we go up to 900 millimeters, but we can also go for higher palletizing application up to 1.4 meters on request. Thanks to its aluminum extrusion construction, it offers a very high stability. And a very important fact and point to us while developing the lift kit was the safety. So we have been very careful about having no pinch points. We have also linked our emergency stop system to the cobot. So that means whenever the emergency stop of the cobot is activated, both the lift kit and the UI cobot will stop. We have also built in a mechanical brake so that in case of power failure, the lift kit would stop and remain at its position just before the power failure to avoid any safety issues. From the 5 years we have been working with Cobot palletizer, we have deployed hundreds of Cobot palletizer worldwide with the lift kit. When we come to reliability, this lift kit telescopic column has been used many years, as long as 15 years back, in medical and industrial application. So it's a reliable product, which has also been developed for ergonomics. So we have helped different customers to improve the ergonomics of working station, assembly tables, automatizing work stream in the factory. And that's why we also managed to improve the well-being of many workers. Nowadays, it is used in 300 plus palletizing application across different industries. And we have been tested in palletizing simulations through software, but in real life as well. Here you can see a lift kit in action with a compact footprint in a food and beverage company. This one is operated by the Pallet software from Rocketfarm. And it is fair to say that putting boxes on boxes on boxes is probably not the preferred job in the factory. We heard from many customers that their packing staff would have left the company if nothing would have changed. And that's where the Cobot palletizer comes in play, not only improving the throughput of your line, but also improving the well-being of your workers.
Yes, thank you, Damien. I'll take over from here. And that was a great introduction to the hardware you can use for the Cobot palletizer and how it can look like. And now I want to focus a bit more on the software part. And we at Rocketfarm have focused on developing a palletizing software for the past 5 years. So we have now developed our Pallet software for universal robots, really focusing, as Damien just mentioned, on helping operators with such an unfavorable task like palletizing. And palletizing in general might seem easy to automate, but in fact, every project is a bit different and rather unique. And especially when you think of software for palletizing, it's a lot more complex and you have a lot of calculations and math included in it. So with Pallet, we tried to make a software that's quick and easy to install. So we put a lot of effort in the user interface and to make that really friendly to use, so that you can actually set up the whole Cobot palletizer hardware and setup in one day, so that the programming is made really easy also for this do-it-yourself solution. And as Damien also mentioned, with their lift kit, we support height pallets of up to 2.15 meters or around 85 inches. And as we've seen, their lifting column is also on request with an even higher stroke. And soon we will also support even higher pallets with our Pallet software. You can also grip several boxes at the same time with our software. That is all done dynamically, so that you can reach a cycle time of 60 cases per minute. We will look into that a bit later to really see what's doable with cobots and cycle time here. With our web-based solution, the Pallet Builder, we allow you to create multiple patterns in a really short time. So the Pallet Builder is one part of the Pallet software and freely accessible. We will send you the link also in a follow-up email, and you can also access it through the Rocketfarm homepage. So when you create your patterns in the Pallet Builder, you can download them and not have any downtime on the production line in this time. You then just quickly upload them to the robot, and then you can start palletizing. So here you really save a lot of time. If you would have to program patterns on the robot, then you would have to stop production, and that can also take several hours for only one pattern. So once you've determined your needs for automating the palletizing task, and you've established the floor sizing and general pricing restrictions, then we at Rocketfarm want to help you with the next steps to see if your project is doable. So there's 3 steps we can look at. In the first step, we now together can look at if a UR robot can actually palletize your products. Then in the second step, you can build your own pallet, however you like it to have it. And then we from Rocketfarm can help you with validating the project to see if your product can really be palletized with such a Cobot palletizer. So for the first step, we're going to look at a graph. And the x-axis, on the bottom you see the weight in kilogram, and on the y-axis you see the products that can be palletized per minute. So in light blue we see the possible areas with a UR10 that has a payload capacity of 10 kilo, and usually you would consider a gripper weight of 1 kilo, so you can lift products of up to 9 kilo. With the UR16, you can even lift up to 16 kilo. And here you see this area, this possible area in the dark blue color. So in total, or in general, we see that we can palletize up to 60 cases per minute. I want to show you an example of a product of 3 kilo. And we see that with the UR10, we can lift 10 kilo. So if we can lift 3 products at the same time, we can palletize 30 boxes per minute. And here we consider that we can have 10 lifts per minute. And with the UR16, we can even palletize 50 boxes per minute. So if you see now that your products lie in the possible area here, then we can look at the second step. That is where you create your desired pattern in our pallet builder. So first, in the first step, you start entering the product dimensions and the pallet size, and then you can really build your pattern that you want to have per layer. So you can choose from several options of how the pattern can look like with your product dimensions, and then the software will automatically stack the number of layers you entered. You can also easily create interlocking layers where you have every second layer rotated for better stability. As you see also, you can have define the label orientation if you want to have them facing out. You can also see a suggested robot mounting height, the conveyor belt, really to make sure that this is the pattern you need. Of course, you can also go in and change and edit every single box to make sure everything is really on the spot it needs to be. For instance, you can also add shim paper or slip paper if that's required. So when you're satisfied with your pattern, you can download it. As I mentioned, upload it to the robot. But for our third step now, we would now send this pattern to simulation. In this simulation, we at Rocketfarm take your product and let it palletize from a UR robot in real time. And as you can see here in the picture, it's an offline simulation, so we don't actually need your product and a real robot. But in this offline simulation, we can still see, can the robot reach all corners? In general, is this project doable? We can give hardware recommendations, for instance, what stroke of the lift kit we can recommend to reach all the layers. We can also see if your required cycle time can be hit, and many more questions. And if this simulation is then successful, you can go into the Vention machine builder and design your Cobot palletizer with Palli. I also quickly want to show you how the software on the robot looks like. On the left picture, you see the tablet, I call it now, that you have with a UR robot. And here you can install the Pally software. It's a UR cap that has all the code and programming. And you only need to install this once in the beginning. And later on, you can just create new patterns and then upload them to the robot, switch between the patterns, but you don't need to reprogram anything. And this is really in line with the plug and play solution, that you have this really user-friendly interface. And yeah, you can not only quickly add and switch between patterns, but also, for instance, different accessories. You could change maybe a gripper. And here I can pass on to Christoph again.
Thanks, Marlene. Yeah, so it's really awesome how flexible it is using this software. You can change everything without changing the whole program. So, like you said, it's really important for in Cobot palletizing to be able to choose the right end of arm tool, the right sensors, the right accessories that come with it. So, I'd like to show you a couple of the examples that we have on Vention regarding that. So as you can see here, there's only we've only showcased 5 of them, but there's many more. On the left, there's the gripper. So you can see the Schmalz FXCB, which is one of the most popular gripper for palletizing in general. It's super reliable and plug and play. But if you have non-standard boxes, you can also change your end of arm tool for something more customizable, like this one, which is powered by millibar. So we've created manifolds that fit on Vention's extrusions, so you can choose the size of your gripper, add the venturi to it, the vacuum switch, and a bunch of components that brings to life a gripper that fits your need. There's also a bunch of accessories and sensors available on Vention, like the tower light that can give you the stage at which the palletizing is at. Also sensors that can tell you where the boxes are at, the pallet as well. So a bunch of accessories that could be really useful that you can add or remove as you wish. So now that we've looked at each component individually, we've seen how powerful this tool is, but we'd like to show you a typical use case that can occur from ideation to operation and show you how easy it would be to achieve that. So in this case study, we separate everything in 8 simple steps. So basically, after the 8 steps, you would have a solution that you can operate. So the first step really would be on your side, usually on the side of the customer itself, of identifying your business needs, the metrics, the best use case for you. So it's an internal discussion that you can have, but also Vention can support in that regard. If it's for brainstorming together, we're always available for that and seeing what would be best for you. Step 2 would be, as Marlene mentioned, just a feasibility check to see which cobots you should use, with what payload you need. So that's really a step to begin with, to see what are the main components and if it's doable on your side. After that, you jump into step 3, which is if you're used to play around on Vention. That is our public design library, like I mentioned earlier. So you can type in Cobot palletizer, for example, and see all the public designs available. So these are designs that our user or our colleagues have created and decided to make public, so that everybody can start from there, avoiding starting from scratch and saving a bunch of time. And usually even people can directly purchase the public design. So once again, it saves a lot of time, and the budget doesn't require any engineering process. So that's one of the cool factor, the cool feature of this. So after you choose your design that best fits your need, you go down to step 4. So if you want to customize your design, you can do so by yourself. So it's super easy on Vention on our machine builder to move around things, add parts, remove parts. You can also have our engineering team take a look at it and add some things if you need, and double check that everything is okay with you. After this step 4, you jump into step 5. Like Marlene said, it's about the pallet pattern and seeing if the design could actually palletize your boxes on the pallet. So you can see, come up with a simulation video, see if there's any collision with your design, if it can reach the furthest corners of the pallets, which are the reach the Cobot has. So after step 5, basically, you have a working solution, a proof of concept that could be now purchased on step 6. So as anything on Vention, once you're ready to purchase, you just add it to your cart and provide your personal information with a credit card information, choose your shipping method, and that's it. That's all you need. And as we probably say at Vention, it can ship as fast as the next day. So in a matter of 1 day or more, you can receive everything to your factory. So it all comes in flat pack boxes, and you can start the assembly right away. The biggest added value that we bring with this solution is really with step 8. It's the most optimized step because basically all of our partners here that came up together with us and teamed up to bring that solution to life all have nice user manuals that could be really useful. The one step further that we chose that we did was to connect the dots and make the bridges between those user manuals and bring one document that you would need from assembly to operating your Cobot palletizer. It can all be explained step by step in this document. So that's a really powerful tool that is available when you purchase the whole solution, but you can have a short version of it on our website and just show you the general steps and see the wiring diagram, for example, and see how easy it would be. We also added some tips and tricks so that it could be easier and for you to operate and to plug everything together. So now that you've seen the case study, I don't know if you followed the dates and the hours, but if you did, you saw that it can take less than 2 weeks from the idea to the operation of the machine, which is game changer here for Cobot palletizer, but in design in general. And even if you skip the step about ideation, it could take almost 1 week to have the whole solution ready to operate on your factory. So that's really the advantage of going with our solution. And it's as always, Vention is here to provide any help. And with our partners, we're confident that this solution can be really useful if you want to automate their palletizer of your process.
Thanks, Christophe, for walking us through this typical use case from design to deployment. So today we've explored the business case for using a Cobot palletizer, and we've touched upon the different solutions in terms of configuration that could best fit your need. We've also learned that using a palletizing software like Pally from Rocketfarm gets you started quickly and on the right path with confidence that all of these components will work seamlessly together. So Cobot palletizer applications are small, they're flexible, and they're easy to deploy. The Cobot palletizer was co-created, and it was made to automate the shop floor as simply and as affordably as possible so that you can do it yourself. You are Ewellix, Vention, Rocketfarm, Dorner, Schmalz, Millibar, all with modular capabilities. They've come together to make it easy to use and plug and play for real. So it's a great example where the result is greater than the sum of its parts. So thank you, Christophe, Damien, and Marlene for being here today. We will now open the floor to questions. So please submit your questions in the Q&A box if you have not done so, and we will answer them right away. So we do have one question, which is around safety considerations. So I'm going to address this one to Damien. So Damien, safety is always a key concern when beginning to automate. How can you balance safety with speed and the Ewellix tower?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. This is a frequently asked question, and it's a good question as well. Just like any application, there is no fit for all in terms of safety. It really depends on the safety requirements each of you and customers will have, and also very important, the allocated budget. How much do you want to allocate to safety for a cobot palletizing application? So there are many different ways to increase the safety level of your cobot palletizer, beginning with a fence around it. But if you want to make it more collaborative, you can also use an end-of-arm collision detection, for example, or virtual safety barrier. So there are many different solutions. This will need to be then investigated while you are looking at your business case.
Marlene or
But
Christophe, anything to add maybe? Oh, sorry, Damien.
no, that's what I wanted to say. I think Rocketfarm has a way also to somehow increase the safety of the whole application.
Yes, exactly. Well, in general, with the software, we've worked a lot with the path planning of the robot to increase safety like that. On the one hand, that is how the robot moves from picking up the box to placing it on the pallet. But also, as I mentioned earlier, you can grip multiple boxes at the same time. If you can allow that, then you reach a higher cycle time than required, you could lower the speed of the robot, and that will also increase the safety for the whole solution. So you would rather want to have a high or a heavy payload on the robot and go on a lower speed than having a not so heavy payload but a high speed. So that's also what we have added from the software perspective.
Yeah, and I think these are all great answers. And I think on top of that, if you need something else, so safety enclosure, for instance, you can have everything on Vention for that. We also have light curtains and a bunch of other safety devices that you can add. So like Damien said, it's all about how far you want to go into safety and what is your budget. But we can check together what are the possibilities.
So that's a good segue. Actually, we got a question that is, what is a good budget price for this unit? So I'm going to ask maybe Christophe, can you answer this question?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So basically, the whole solution is pretty low cost. So that's what's great about it. We haven't covered the price very much in this webinar, but it's something really important here. So it could be as low as, for the solution that you saw with the Ewellix tower, it could be as low as 18,000 US dollars. So you can see here that the only thing missing would be the UR and the conveyor. But again, it's under $20,000 to have the solution. So you can add everything on top of that, but you have the working machine with that budget.
And so the budget, this budget that you talked about is actually the one we see on the screen. So that includes the Schmalz, the Ewellix lift kit, the Pally software, sensors, the lights, and the full integration guide. So to your point, what's missing, of course, in this pricing would be the robot and a conveyor. If you don't have one on your shop floor, you could get a conveyor. We have a question that's, what's the maximum payload? So maybe, you know, I would direct this to Rocketfarm or Ewellix.
Yep, I can answer for the lift kit itself. The maximum payload is 1,500 newtons, so approximately 150 kilograms. So that means you can pack the Euro 16 on top of our lift kit.
And to add on top of that, usually it's the robot that is the bottleneck when it comes to payload for cobot palletizing. So it would be 10 kilograms for the UR10 or 16 for the UR16, because the Schmalz has a bigger payload allowance. When it comes to custom gripper, though, that could be the bottleneck. So it all depends on your design. But usually a good reference for the maximum payload is really to look at the UR maximum allowance.
Thank you. We have a question on sales support. So what is the after sales support? Chris, can you answer this one?
Yeah, so basically, like everything on Vention, we do offer after-sales support if needed. So we're always available if you want to reach out, if you have questions, if you have issues, we're always there. And when it comes to more technical questions about the specific parts from our partners, we're also teaming up with them. So if you have a specific question about Pally, for instance, but we're in relation with Rocketfarm, so we can all discuss together. Same with Ewellix, same with Schmalz. So the after-sale services are covered.
Thank you. So this is a question that's kind of related to it. Must we always work with a system integrator? Chris?
Yeah, that's a good question. And basically what we did with the integration guide replaces the integrator. So anyone could build the whole machine themselves, and you don't need to pay or to have access to integrator to do that. So that's also a game changer here for this machine. So everything has been certified and it has been tested. So that's this part is done. So you can save also on the budget for in that regards. So the whole document replaces the integrators.
Okay. We have one question, which is this solution only compatible with UR, or what are the plans with the FANUC?
Yep, I can take this one, Jen, if you want.
Sure.
That's a good question. In this webinar, we mainly talked about the UR, and for the time being, the whole Cobot palletizer is meant to be used with UR, and it's UR Plus certified. But we are working on integrating the lift kit into several different cobots manufacturer, and then FANUC is one of the is part of this program. So the software is being tested and validated, and the release is foreseen for Q2 2021, so next year.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe quickly for the Pally software, because that is right now only available for Universal Robots, and there is no direct plan to have it available for FANUC robots.
So a question for Pally software, is the Pally software able to evaluate the center of gravity of the box?
Yes, it is. So the software is programmed that it will need a fixed position where the boxes arrive, so that it calculates the center of the box. So when you add new products with a different size, then it will always calculate that center point again to know the or to calculate the new positions where to pick up the boxes and also where to place them on the pallet.
Thank you. We have a question around support. So Chris, I'm going to direct this one to you. Does your support include the designing of custom grippers?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything inside the design is considered being part of the whole service that Vention can provide. So not only the machine itself, but if you need to design the gripper, we would go with the millibar suction cups, for instance, and we can help with that. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Although we're always happy to help, and it's complementary engineering services, so you don't have to pay for that.
Thank you. Can the UR16 fill a standard US pallet? Is there enough reach, and how much the product be for it to work? Maybe I can direct this question to Rocketfarm. Marlene?
Yes. Yeah, we actually are working, or one of our partners is working on the first palletizing project with a UR16 in the US with US pallets. So with our simulations, we could help them see or suggest how the hardware should be placed, or how the conveyor should be positioned in relation to the robot and the pallets, so that they had the reach for all products to place them on the pallet. And they also use a lift kit for the solution. So that's often required to really get the reach. But it is possible, and that's also why I can encourage you to use the simulation service, because then we can help you see if your product specifically can be palletized on US pallets, because it also depends on the size and the height of the product. So not all products might be doable, also depending on the pattern. Yeah.
Thank you. So we're having a question around the height limitation of 2.15 meters. So I think, Marlene, this question might be for you. I know Rocketfarm, you're working on extending that reach or providing software for the extended reach. Can you maybe talk about what's the main reason for the height limitation right now, and what's your expectation around future heights?
Yes. So currently we have the limitation of 2.15 meters because that is where you usually reach the pickup position and the position on the layer while you have the lift kit, let's say, on the same position. So it's a coding limitation, you could say. So we are right now reprogramming the software so that you can reach higher layers, because then the lifting column can move from picking up the box on the conveyor belt and then up to reach a high layer, for instance. And then there would be no limitations in height. Then it really depends on the 7th axis you're using, and Ewellix has you can have the lift kit with up to 1400 millimeter stroke. So then you can already have quite high pallets.
Thank you. We have a question. I'm gonna turn this question maybe to Damien. Is this suitable for vertical farming? So maybe talking about the position of the lift kit.
Yeah, the position of the lift kit is the one you see on the screen. So it's it must be bolted on the floor. If the question is a ceiling mount, so meaning being attached on the ceiling, this one, the standard lift kit, doesn't work in that orientation. We are working on a body-built version of the lift kit, which would enable you to work from the ceiling. I hope this answers the question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think that's okay. Question for maybe, I think this might be a combination of Chris or Rocketfarm. Let's say I want to change the orientation at odd layers, that there's an offset in the picking position. How would that work? Would we be able to do that?
Let's see if I understand the question right. But in general, Pally needs, in the first or one-time installation you define one pickup position. So you have to have a fixed end position on the conveyor belt. And from that position, the software will calculate the gripper, how the gripper is first of all placed. So you can also allow that the gripper rotates to pick up the box, and then how it places the boxes on the pallet. So it will the software will dynamically decide how to pick up the box, and so it can really change for each box orientation on the pallet. Can be different. The software will calculate how to pick it up and how to place it. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and if you want to make sure the box is at the right location each and every time, we're usually using guides on the conveyor, and Pally offers the possibility to have two conveyors, two in-feed conveyors, so you can have different products coming from two different conveyors, but the pickup location is going to be fixed.
Thank you. And following question to that might be, that was asked, sorry, is how do you then ensure the boxes are piled tightly on the pallet? Do you need sensors or a camera? Maybe Marlene, you can answer with the start with this one.
Yes. So we do not use a camera or sensors to know where the boxes are placed. This is really based on calculations, so that the software will detect, for instance, if the vacuum is lost and if you lose a box from the gripper. But elsewise, yeah, the calculations are quite advanced, really, to make sure that every box is placed on its place on the pallet.
And the sensors are not for the pattern. It's really to see if their pallet is in place, if the box is ready to be picked up, and like Marlene said, if the vacuum has been successful or not. So the sensors are mainly external, but the beauty of the tight packaging, I would say, comes from Rocketfarm, the software with the pallet generator.
Thank you. There's a question. I'm going to direct this one to Chris, and maybe Marlene, you can complement. On your website, so I'm guessing the Vention website, I saw models with the angled robot base, right, versus the horizontal base. So question is, can Pally support the angle base model? And what's the advantage of angle base versus horizontal base? Chris, I'm going to direct this one to you. I know we have multiple designs on the platform. Some of them are Pally supported, some of them are not. So can you take this one?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question. So it's right. We do have a lot of us designs with angle-based models. The thing is, it's not right now compatible with Pally. Usually, it's used to have a better reach. But yeah, so it's not compatible with Pally. But I think it's on the roadmap. But Marlene, you can maybe comment on that.
Yes. So yeah, as you said, it's currently not compatible. So the robot really needs to be mounted horizontally. And that is because the code we have, or the programming we did in the software, calculates with the robot mounted like this. So if you would have it mounted with an angle, then you would need a different path planning for the shoulders and where the robot moves. But we have also, with a horizontally mounted robot, really worked a lot with the path planning to get the maximum reach with the robot. For instance, also by being able to rotate the gripper when picking up the boxes, so you can really reach your desired orientation for a specific box on the pallet.
And if needed, you can also add a wrist extension. It could be a horizontal or a vertical, and it can help in the regards of the reach.
Exactly.
So Marlene, this one is for you. Is it possible to use interlayer sheets?
Yes, that is possible. We have different names for them. So I mentioned slip paper earlier, or shim paper, but you can add that. So you would add the layers in your pattern in the pallet builder and the height of the paper. And then when you install the software on the robot, you would just teach the robot a position where it has to pick up the paper. And then it will do that movement in your after your desired layer number.
Thank you. What are the limitations in terms of the type of packaging? And maybe this one is a little bit more for Chris. Do we always need a dry surface or a wet surface? I think this probably depends on your gripper, but Chris and maybe Marlene, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, it all depends on the type of surface, like you said, what material you're picking up, and also what type of suction cups that you can choose from. If you take the Schmalz FXCB, there's different types of cups that you can add onto that. There's also the foam pad. If you go with Millibar, with a custom one, you can choose any type of suction cups, any sizes, and any material suction cup. So the limitation here is there's no limitation here except you have to configure your end of arm tool according to what you're picking up.
Thanks, Chris. Oh, go ahead, Marlene.
Yes, I can agree with Chris. It really depends on the end of arm tool. From the Pelly perspective, right now in the pallet builder, you can only configure square boxes. So you might also have different shaped products. And that is possible, but then that would require our support, but we're happy to help you there. If you, for instance, have round buckets or similar, then we can help with building that pattern.
So we did have a follow-up question on that, which was if I have a non-vacuum gripper, like fork-like grippers. So again, this currently is this fits with what you're saying, Marlene, where we would have to reach out. It would be doable, but we would have to reach out.
I would say that's the best to reach out, because then we can really make sure or see if it is doable with Pelly. Maybe there's a slight configuration you would have to change and then it works. So that's could be the easiest way that we can help you there. But in general, yes, it's possible.
Damien, this one is for you. If the UR16 is mounted on the lift kit and on a slide kit, will the payload reduce when the lift kit is at max height?
Yeah, that's a good question. In fact, it will not reduce. The payload will still be the same. The only difference you will have, the deflection. If you extend the robot at its maximum, you will have a more important deflection of the lift kit. So you will need to take that into account when placing the box. But that's the only difference. The payload will not be limited.
Thank you. This question might be for you, Damien. What's the maintenance required on the system?
On the lift kit, which is virtually maintenance-free, there is no maintenance. So the screw which we use is greased for a lifetime. So there is nothing to do on from the maintenance point of view on the lift kit.
Okay, thank you. What about remote assistance and spare part availability? Maybe Christophe, this one you could answer.
Yeah, so for spare parts, that's a common question. So that's a really good question. And everything has been added together that doesn't require much spare parts. So all the components added together are really reliable. But if it comes to spare parts, we can always provide some, depending on the exact I would say environment that you have in your factory. We could recommend what would be the best spare parts for you and provide those as you order your whole machine.
Thank you. Marlene, I think we have time for one last question. Do I need internet to do my programming with Pally?
That's a good question. You will need internet connection to load the pallet builder website once. So once it's loaded, you can also use it offline and create several products if you need. And you will not need internet connection for the robot itself. So because you install the software on the robot locally, it's just for the pallet builder, you will need an internet connection.
So I want to thank you guys for being here. This was very helpful for, we're getting some comments in, so I just wanted to share that with you. This was very helpful for the users. I want to thank you again for joining us in this journey to simplify everything for the end users. So thank you, Christophe. Thank you, Damien. Thank you, Marlene. And we'll hope to collaborate further.